The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack. Our administration is working closely with leaders from all levels of government and society to respond to this crisis, and not but just by addressing the immediate aftermath, but also by building a state that is more resilient and a state that's more safe.
The Baltimore Bridge collapse. The Francis Scott Key Bridge. You may have seen the in every sense, awful pictures of the collapse in Baltimore of that bridge this morning after a container ship crashed into it. Maryland has declared a state of emergency and at least 6 people are still being searched for. 2 have been rescued so far. Now, the President, Joe Biden, spoke just in the last few moments, and he had this to say.
Hello, folks. Sorry to keep you waiting. I was waiting to talk to the last member of the delegation in the region. Good afternoon. Before I leave for North Carolina, which I'm going to do in a few minutes, I want to speak briefly about the terrible incident and accident that happened in Baltimore this morning. The bridge collapsed, sending several people and vehicles into the water, into the river, and multiple U.S. Coast Guard units, which are stationed very nearby, thank God, were immediately deployed along with local emergency personnel. And the Coast Guard is leading the response to the port, where representatives from the Federal Highway Administration, the FBI, the Department of Transportation, the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as Maryland officials and Baltimore Police and Fire, are all working together to coordinate an emergency response. I spoke with Governor Moore this morning, as well as the Mayor of Baltimore, the County Executive, both United States Senators and the Congressman. And my Secretary of Transportation is on the scene. I told them we're going to send all the federal resources they need as we respond to this emergency. And I mean all the federal resources. And we're going to rebuild that port together. Everything so far indicates that this was a terrible accident. At this time, we have no other indication, no other reason to believe there's any intentional act here. And to the people of Baltimore, I want to say, we're with you. We're going to stay with you as long as it takes. And like the governor said, you're Maryland tough, you're Baltimore strong, and we're going to get through this together. And I promise we're not leaving. It's my intention that the federal government will pay for the entire cost of reconstructing that bridge. And I expect the Congress to support my effort. You know, we're not leaving until this job gets done. Not leaving until then. So I just want to say God bless everybody everyone harmed this morning and their families. And may God bless the first responders, many of whom risking their lives.
Do you plan to go to Baltimore, sir? And if so, how quickly?
I do, and as quickly as I can.
You said the federal government's also going to pay for the repairs. I'm just curious, this was a ship that appears to be at fault. Is there any reason to believe that the company behind the ship should be held responsible? And then also, you mentioned...
That could be, but we're not going to wait for that to happen. We're going to pay for it to get the bridge rebuilt and opened.
What did you...
About the port.
It's a major part of Baltimore. It's just on the south side. It's incredibly massive structure. Traffic is happening there all day, every day. And it's a bridge I take home every single day. And I was just reflecting on it just a bit ago. And as I was coming in here to the Hard Yacht Cafe in the marina, I had to take another route, and peering over from our marina where we are, as the light was coming up, you can't see the structure anymore. So it's very bizarre.
The governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, delivered a press statement.
The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack. Our administration is working closely with leaders from all levels of government and society to respond to this crisis, and not but just by addressing the immediate aftermath, but also by building a state that is more resilient and a state that's more safe.
The Maryland Governor, Wes Moore. Let's now say hello to Alistair Dorber, the Times Washington correspondent, who is in Baltimore. Hello to you, Alistair.
Hi, John.
Alistair, welcome. Can you get us up to date then on the state of the search for survivors?
Yeah, I think sadly the search for survivors is rapidly becoming a search and recovery operation. There are 6 people still missing. These are people that are thought to have been on the bridge, crossing the bridge at about 1:30 this morning local time when the ship sailed into it and triggered the collapse. The police say that that they're aware that there are cars in the water. They say that they've used sonar detection kit to locate these cars, but at the moment they haven't managed to recover anyone. So I think the fear is that the people that are being searched for may unfortunately end up not surviving.
That's sad news. We've heard the president say the expectation, the understanding is we're talking about an accident here. Can you just take us through what actually happened there, Alistair, in the early hours?
Sure. Well, this ship, the Dali, which was set for a voyage to Colombo in Sri Lanka, it was fully laden. It was leaving the port of Baltimore, which is the busiest in the US, and it seemed from the video that's been released, seemed to have lost power at least a couple of times as it went under this bridge. This bridge sort of spans two parts of Baltimore with the bay and the port behind it. Having lost power, it issued a mayday call. But of course, it was too late and seemed to sail into one of the structures supporting the bridge, and almost instantly, the bridge, the structure of the bridge collapsed. I'm currently sitting about a mile from the bridge. I can see sort of the parts of the bridge that are still up, and then bits sticking out that have collapsed. It's a bit of a sorry sight, but it seems, as Wes Moore was saying there, to have been an accident after the ship lost power.
Yeah, many of us would have seen the pictures on social media and online of the collapse of the bridge. I mean, awesome in the worst possible way. Can you tell us anything, Alistair, about what would have been the normal procedure for a vessel like this navigating in that part of the river? Would it have tugboats guiding it? Would it have a pilot aboard?
No, well, I was chatting to someone who lives close by a little bit earlier on, and he was telling me that because it's quite a narrow harbour in Baltimore, they have specialist pilots who take the cargo ships out of the harbour, maybe 5 or 6 miles into the sea, and then they switch over back to the normal crew. These specialist guys know the harbour very, very well indeed, and it's their job to navigate these huge, great big cargo vessels in and out of, as I say, what is, at least last year, the US's busiest port. So on board, the expectation would have been last night that one of these specialist pilots was in charge, was captaining the ship. As I say, from the footage, it appears that it suffered a pretty catastrophic failure of power.
Okay, Alistair, thank you so much for that update. Alistair Dorber there.